Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dhanvat Pranam, Yashar Prabhupada. Thank you, Ritesh Prabhu, Pawan Prabhu, Meenakshi Moini, for leading the chanting this morning on the day when we are going to recite the whole Bhagavad Gita today. Okay, let's start with our Mangalacharan, followed by our prayer, and then we'll read Srila Prabhupada Lamrit. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Ete Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anybody would like to sing Shri Kevalashtakam this morning?
Yes, Prabhu, I can try.
Hare Krishna, Shri Mataji. Yes, please.
Madhuram madhurebhyopi mangalebhyopi mangalam pavanam pavanebhyopi hare namaiva kevalam Abrahmastambhaparyantam sarvam mayamayam jagat satyam satyam punah satyam harer namaiva kevalam Saguru sa pita chapi sa mata bandhavopi sa शिक्षा ये चेत् सदा स्मर्तुं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् निश्वासे नहि विश्वास कदा रूढो भविष्यति कीर्तन्यमतो बाल्याद् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरि सदा वसेत् तत्र यत्र भागवत जना गायन्ति भक्तिभावेन हरेर्नामैव केवलम् अहो दुःखं महादुःखं दुःखतरं यत काचार्थं विस्मृतं रत्नहरेर्नामैव केवलम् दीयतां कर्णो नियतां वच गीयतां नित्यं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् त्रिणीकृत्य जगत्सर्वं राजते सकलोपरि चित् आनन्दमयं शुद्धं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shri Mataji. Anyone else would like to read the translations?
Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes, please, Ritesh Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. More sweet than all other sweet things, more auspicious than all other auspicious things, the greatest purifier of all purifying things, the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. The entire universe, from exalted Brahma down to the lowly clump of grass, is a product of the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. The only thing that is reality, again I say reality, the, the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. That person is a true preceptor or a true father, a true mother, and a true friend, also only if they teach one to always remember the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. There is no certainty when the last breath will come and put an abrupt halt to all one's material plans. Therefore, it is wise to always practice chanting from very childhood. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. Lord, Lord Hari eternally dwells in that place where truly exalted, spiritually advanced, soul sings in the mood of pure devotion. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. Aho, what a sorrow, what a great sorrow, more painful than any other misery in the world, mistaking it as a mere piece of glass. The people have forgotten this jewel. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. It should be heard again and again. With one's ear, it should be uttered over and over with one's voice. It should be perpetually sung and sung anew. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. It makes the entire universe more insignificant as a blade of glass, as a blade of grass. It reigns supreme over all in a splendorous manner. It is full of eternally conscious divine ecstasy. It is supremely pure. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ritesh Prabhu. Anything you want to share? Your reflections from this prayer, this translation?
Prabhuji, when we realize, Hare Krishna, that everything that we see is just a clump of grass, a piece of like a simple thing, and nothing more than the holy name itself is the purest thing, we realize what a true meaning that holds. Uh, and also the line that always changes all the things all of a sudden is that uh, the true preceptor, the true father, true mother, everything are the ones who teaches to remember the holy name, the Hari Om, and which is always true. And the last but not the least, we all know that, and we all have experienced by some other means, but not by themselves, that when the last breath will come, it can put an abrupt end. It can put all the plans, whatever we have thought. I mean, not even the last breath. Sometimes the life itself gives you such a big twist that all the plans of the material things and all the things can be abrupted, can be changed. Then people start realizing that the holy name, the Krishna, is all the plan. When we surrender it to Him, we realize that the happiness comes when we surrender it to Him, whether we are making the plans, whether the plans have been disrupted, whether we have acquired anything, or whether we have lost anything. When we leave it to Krishna and we surrender it to Him, all those pains or the happiness becomes meaningless. Just being with the pure satisfaction, pure devotee, giving everything from the real heart to Krishna gives you the immense happiness, what we call the pure, and the love. And yes, it also highlighted the meaning of a true father, true mother, a friend, a preceptor. Anybody who's teaching you, they get more, you can say, not just more, the immense part of the heart, which is full, always full with purity, love, and devotion. And all that is because of Krishna. So once we start surrendering, once we start realizing that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Krishna, we start actually getting very, very happy. Happiness in such a way where things cannot be described either by Maya, materialistic things, or by any other scientific teachings or anything else. So Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I don't know where I'm going, but actually I
You are
wanted to
going.
put a point, but it looks like that I've been like twisting again and again. And the again,
No, yeah. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
but the happiness all is based on like when we realize the name Hare Krishna, Hari or Om,
Mm.
and that the Paramatma Hare Krishna is is where the whole love is lying, where every happiness and every sorrow uh, bends
Mm.
into one pure love. That's where the spiritual happiness and everything belongs to. It's just the Hare Krishna, the Krishna's name. That's all. Hare Krishna,
Mm.
Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. You said you don't know where you're going. You're going back home, back to Godhead. That's where we all are going if we
No,
can
Prabhuji.
connect to
I
this
was like,
call.
it's like sometimes when the words are
Mm.
not coming out of the mouth, but the emotions are uh,
Mm.
flowing very fast, and you cannot really connect the things. But the whole thing was that I was trying to connect that everything, whether it's a sorrow or happiness, whether it's a materialistic gain or whether it's a loss, whether it's a near
Mm.
death experience or a new birth experience. But when we give everything and everything is connected from the heart to Krishna, then we feel such a happiness which cannot be even like uh, worded into happiness or sorrow. It's just like
Right.
a pure devotion. That's what I mean to say. So please.
Yes. Yeah, that is why we say in Hindi कि वहाँ पे शब्दों की entry नहीं है, right? When you cannot describe, words cannot describe, the joy, the bliss of spiritual happiness. That is the bliss that is beyond words, actually, like you said. And yes, yeah, everything that we read in this prayer, even like just this, the author Neelakanta Goswami also reminds us of Shivji, who is Vaishnavanam Yathashambhu, Neelakanta, right? Shivji. So for him, Shivji क्या है? Shivji के लिए भगवान और भगवान का नाम ही है हमेशा, right? He's always just chanting the names of the Lord. And even as Pawan Putra, we have Pawan Prabhuji here on the call, but Pawan, as Pawan Putra also, Hanumanji also, what does he have? He is only always surrendered to the Lord in terms of seva. So yeah, Hanumanji, and there's a pastime where I think he was he was eating and he was not, his hunger was not being satiated. So Mata was feeding him, but he was not feeling satiated. And then Ram Bhagwan says, okay, offer him, प्रसादम with a piece of tulsi in it. जब तुलसी डाल के देते हैं, भोग लग मतलब प्रसाद बन के देते हैं, तो then his hunger is satisfied. So his hunger is satisfied with the devotees, with Tulsi Maharani, and उन्होंने क्या किया, अपनी छाती फाड़ के उन्होंने अपना भगवान का राम नाम दिखाया, right? So in the heart is only Ram Naam. That's it. So like that, yeah, the names. I was actually yesterday only I was listening to a session on Hare Krishna TV. वहाँ पे they were talking about Virat Kohli. Again, this verse this verse is 100 actually, Shatakam, right? So Shatakam we talk about in cricket, those who hit centuries. So Virat Kohli, as we all have seen, he and his wife, they are now living abroad, but he came to meet Premanandji Maharaj in Vrindavan. And yesterday in that talk in Hare Krishna TV, they were talking about how he is inspiring. So again, he is a very famous personality, right? But it shows that he has so much of wealth, he has so much of fame, so much of reputation around the world, but something is lacking, right? Otherwise, somebody who is so famous, so rich, what does he need to do, right? Bhakti, but he's coming towards the saintly people of Vrindavan. That means even he recognizes that what he has today in life is nothing actually, right? There is something beyond that. So it's good. It's a good inspiration for all the other youth that even somebody who's so successful is not satisfied with what he has. So that is where that actually shows the true significance of the holy name, true significance of bhakti. And actually, what was being discussed there was that Virat Kohli has now a kanti mala in his neck. He's wearing tulsi mala, and he had a japa bag in his hand, right? So in that particular session, and he came to meet Maharaj. So that shows that his faith also towards the holy name, towards bhakti, is growing, and that is actually a good sign for the youth of India and all over the world to actually follow. So that's so nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's continue with Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, chapter 56. So we're continuing with the pure devotee of the Lord. Because instead of running behind the Lord, we just catch hold of the pure devotee of the Lord, then for sure it's guaranteed that we are going back to the Lord. Right? So that's what Prabhupada's disciples are doing in terms of serving him, in terms of following his instructions. So let's see what Prabhupada has to teach us today. So we'll continue from here. The Shastras enjoin, one can never know the mind of the Acharya. Since this is true, then how can we know Prabhupada? How can we share his inner life in those pleasant homecoming days of December 1967 and January 1968 in San Francisco? In one sense, we cannot. As Krishnadas Kaviraj says, I do not know the deep meaning of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. As far as possible, I shall try to explain them externally. But sometimes Prabhupada reveals himself directly in his own words. I have returned by Krishna's grace. I am fit to serve you. We can enter his thoughts through his spoken words. Through those who knew him and lived with him, we have another intimate approach to Prabhupada's life. How they saw him and how they dealt with him, often this is as close as we can get. Mukunda. It was in this period that Prabhupada went to visit Mr. B.K. Nehru, who was a big Indian government official. I drove Prabhupada to the St. Francis Hotel in a beat-up old Ford with the name Krishna stenciled in multicolors in 3 different places on the car. The St. Francis Hotel, of course, is a very elite hotel. We arrived at the front door and there was a doorman. I got out and asked him if we could leave the car in front of the hotel for about 15 minutes. Somehow, I don't know why, he immediately agreed to look after the car. We went up to one of the top floors of the building to a very beautiful suite. Mr. Nehru greeted us. He was wearing Western clothes. I was also wearing Western clothes and my head wasn't shaved. Mr. Nehru's wife was also there. I sat on the same couch as Prabhupada, with Mr. Nehru in the middle and Prabhupada on the other end. In the beginning, they spoke English. Prabhupada reiterated some of his past life history and mentioned that he had had a pharmacy called Prayag Pharmacy. He had met Mr. Nehru in India, and Mr. Nehru acknowledged that he knew about the pharmacy. Prabhupada then explained how he had taken sannyas. I noted that Prabhupada was very warm and friendly. It was a side of him that I had never seen before. Not that he hadn't been warm and friendly, but to a non-devotee person, I had never seen him quite in such a friendly attitude. I was totally intrigued to see how open and almost intimate Prabhupada was becoming with this man. I noticed that Prabhupada was presenting himself as a mendicant, a sannyasi. And then the rest of the conversation took place in Hindi. It was a wonderful time for me to observe the facial expressions and gestures and the great depth of feeling with which Prabhupada communicated, because I had to try to guess what he was talking about. In fact, I was also speculating on what he might be saying. Then, of course, Mr. Nehru and sometimes his wife would interject remarks, all in Hindi. I was spinning enormous fantasies about what they all might be talking about. Prabhupada had introduced me as Michael Grant, secretary, and I was sitting on top of the world from the beginning of the conversation. If I felt that I had a stake in the conversation, that maybe Mr. Nehru is not aware that I am not understanding. I was very tuned into the mood of the conversation, even though I was not understanding it. But thinking that maybe I was understanding part of it and trying to act as if I might know something about what they were saying. At some point in the conversation, I was getting very involved in my fantasies of what it was about, and I heard the words missionary work come from Prabhupada. He stopped and looked at me momentarily. There was a beat, and then the conversation resumed. I then realized that I had really been tuned in by that. Prabhupada was asking something. Then later in the conversation, he said in English, "But one word from you to Mr. Nehru." Then Srila Prabhupada's eyes opened wide and he paused. And I believed he looked around at me at that time. Then, after somewhat awkward silence, the conversation resumed again. Then I knew that Srila Prabhupada was really asking for a favor and that he was letting me in on this by saying it in English. I felt that all I could do was try to look very serious and important somehow, such that this man would think that by my presence as an American disciple, he could see that Srila Prabhupada was doing great things by converting us Westerners to Krishna consciousness. Somehow I wanted to help, but I didn't know what it was, so I couldn't say, and I just tried to play the part that Srila Prabhupada seemed to want me to play in this transcendental game. Then the conversation became very convivial and the subject had changed. Later, the wife of B.K. Nehru came forward and called Prabhupada, Swamiji, and said something in Hindi and gave him something wrapped in tin foil. It was about the size of a small apple. Then they exchanged words, and Srila Prabhupada was very warm and cordial with Mrs. Nehru. On the way out, I asked Prabhupada, first of all, what the conversation was about. He was very vague, but said it was about some land that he had been trying to get in India, I think in Vrindavan. It may have been in litigation. I don't know, but he was asking Mr. Nehru's help. I asked whether he was going to help, and Srila Prabhupada was again rather vague about it. But he indicated that he felt the meeting was successful, or at least a step in the right direction. Then I asked about Mr. Nehru's wife, whether she was European or what. And Prabhupada said, no, she is a Parsi. Then on the ride back, Prabhupada opened the tin foil, and in it was a huge date, the biggest one I have ever seen in my life. And he took it out and took a big bite out of it and then offered me the rest, which I took, of course. Mukunda was also present with Prabhupada in his room, along with a small group of devotees, when an earthquake took place. The telephone poles and wires began moving outside the window. The building trembled. No one said anything until Prabhupada said, "What is this?" A devotee replied, "It's an earthquake, Swamiji." Prabhupada said, "Oh." And then the earthquake suddenly stopped. Everyone present was very intent on Prabhupada's reaction. He said, "We can just sit down and chant Hare Krishna." He recounted the bombing of Calcutta during the war. I was in the bomb shelter and the bombs were falling, and I was thinking as I was chanting Hare Krishna that if I had to die now, it would be wonderful to die while chanting Hare Krishna. Mukunda and the other devotees felt secure being in Prabhupada's presence. even during the earthquake. They felt that no matter what catastrophe might happen, they should simply sit with him and chant Hare Krishna and be happy. When Prabhupada had first returned from India, he had criticized Mukunda for failing to obtain the permanent residency status for him. Mukunda had only been able to obtain a temporary visitor's visa. Why did you do this? Prabhupada had asked him sharply. Mukunda made a few excuses. When Prabhupada replied, "You do not understand." Later, Prabhupada and Mukunda visited a local immigration office to seek the permanent residency status. The official who met with them was a woman. In the course of the routine conversation, Prabhupada briefly mentioned the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The woman remarked, "It must be very difficult to follow such a discipline in your life." Prabhupada replied, "No, it is not. It's just a question of remembering God." Then he gave her an example. Just as a woman goes to work and has to think of many different things, yet she never forgets to dress properly. So one has to think of God despite worldly duties. The woman immigration official could understand. During the conversation, the recent earthquake was mentioned, and the woman said that the building they were in was earthquake proof. After the meeting, when Prabhupada was leaving, he said to Mukunda, "There is no such thing as earthquake proof," and he laughed. Leelavati. He called me into his room. He was sitting on his bed talking to Mukunda. When I arrived, he stopped speaking with him and turned to me and said, "So, how are you liking this Krishna consciousness?" And I said, "Oh, Swamiji, my life has changed completely." He bowed his head and said, "Thank you very much." He was very pleased. Then he continued his conversation with Mukunda. He was asking him, "So, Mukunda, you have cast so many pairs of kartals from the ones I have brought, but I do not see any of the devotees with them." I chimed in and said, "Oh, Swamiji, that is because he is charging money." This was my conception of spiritual life. No eating, no money, nothing. Everything, neti, neti, neti. So Prabhupada said, "Oh, charging money is bad?" I was surprised. He said, "You must understand that anything that is used in the service of Krishna is not bad. It is good. Money is not bad if it is used in the proper way." This was my first lesson in real renunciation, real spiritual life. He then asked me to edit the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam, correcting punctuation and grammar. I was so thrilled and enthusiastic. After leaving his room very shortly after we spoke, I immediately began to work. I was extremely excited about doing it. Leelavati's main occupation was taking care of her baby daughter Subhadra. She would treasure different incidents in which Prabhupada showed attention to her daughter. The first time he saw Subhadra on returning from India, he said, "She is very fortunate." And he quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita to the effect that the yogi who does not complete his practice has a chance to be born in a family of pious brahmanas. Another time, noticing that Subhadra was sleepy in his presence, Prabhupada remarked laughingly, "Yes, young children and old men must take a lot of rest." He also held the child several times and played with her. One time, when speaking to a room full of people, Prabhupada suddenly told Leelavati that her daughter was very warm and that she could take off her sweater. He had been speaking on a philosophical topic and had interrupted himself. Others in the room were taken aback to see that Prabhupada was concerned about such a small child. When Prabhupada was leaving in a car to go to a speaking engagement, Leelavati handed him a garland of narcissus flowers through the window of the car. He lowered his head in a humble way and said, "Thank you very much." She then handed him 3 narcissus flowers that had not been used in the garland. He took them and said, "Oh, and this is from your daughter?" Leelavati laughed and said, "Yes, Swamiji." And he said, "Oh, very nice." Such thoughtful and clever remarks from Prabhupada about her daughter totally encouraged Leelavati's Krishna consciousness. Krishnadas. He was continually working on the Bhagavatam and would make dictaphone tapes that he would send to Satsvarupa every other day in Boston. I remember one morning as I was going to work, Govinda Dasi gave me this little package that was a tape with Satsvarupa's address in Boston, and she asked me to mail it on my way to work. The address was on one side and the stamps were on the other. Every day when I went to work, Prabhupada left his door open. So whenever I would go to work, I would pay my obeisances, or sometimes as I was walking by, he would see me and ask me to come in, and he would give me a little prasadam. He would say, "Oh, you are off to work now? Good, I'm glad you are steady." Then in the evening, I would get off the train, which would stop right at Willard Street. Prabhupada's room overlooked the streetcar stop. Sometimes I would get off the streetcar and Prabhupada would be looking down at me from his room. So I would pay my obeisances right there in the street and he would nod. I would come in and he would ask how the day was. So our relationship was very personal. I was never afraid of asking him if I had any difficulties. So when I was asked by Govinda Dasi to mail this tape, I stopped in Prabhupada's room and told him that I noticed that the stamps were on one side and the address was on the other. Are you sure there won't be any difficulty in the mailing? I asked. He said, no, no, there won't be any difficulty. I've done it before. So I went out and I was getting ready when I noticed that the thing was stapled. I had been mailing jewelry all my life and I never sent anything with staples. Always a string or something in case the staples fell off. So again, I knocked on the door and said, Swamiji, I've got to apologize. I don't mean to disturb you, but it is stapled. Are you sure it doesn't have to be tied? I was trying to be helpful, not critical. Maybe I was a little overly confident. So Swami said, no, no, it's all right. So I left. As I was putting my jacket on, I saw that about 2 inches of the envelope was unstapled and the tape was open to view. You could actually squeeze the thing, and although it couldn't fall out, it was visible. So I walked back in the room and paid my obeisance and said, Swamiji, you can see the tape inside. Prabhupada immediately hit his hand on the table loudly and yelled, the spiritual master is never at fault. And even if he is, it's your duty as his disciple to do whatever he asks. He went on for at least half an hour about how one should be very observant of what the spiritual master says and not criticize. It was like he was saying, I will be your spiritual master and I will instruct you. But what can I do if you don't want to take my advice? Krishnadas also got a chance to shave Prabhupada's head. Not many of the devotees in those days wore the Vaishnava shikha, the tuft of hair at the back of the head. Prabhupada had very little hair, but he did have a shikha about 3 inches in diameter at the back of his head. Thinking that only the disciples wore the shikha, Krishnadas shaved off Prabhupada's shikha, but Prabhupada only mentioned it mildly. Oh, you have cut off my shikha? On another occasion, while shaving Prabhupada's head, Krishnadas cut him, but Prabhupada didn't notice it. He was chanting the whole while. But when Upendra came in and saw a bit of blood on Prabhupada's head, he exclaimed. Prabhupada said, What? What? And put his hand onto his head. Oh, you cut me, said Prabhupada. But that was all he said. Upendra later told Krishnadas that he had committed a great offense. That evening, Krishnadas went to Prabhupada and mentioned the cut. There is no difficulty, said Prabhupada. You are just a little young. Yeah, you are just a little young yet. Young don't have a steady hand. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's pause here. So yeah, you see again how his mercy and his tolerance, his love for all these young disciples, be it Kim or Krishnadas. Kim, I think his name was Kim before he became Krishnadas, and or the young Subhadra. Prabhupada is so loving and caring that even during the middle of the lecture, he's thinking of this young girl that she may be getting warm because she's wearing a sweater, right? So like that, the spiritual master is so merciful, it's almost like a parent, right? So for us, Guru Maharaj is like a parent, Srila Prabhupada is like a grandparent, and all the acharyas are our great grandparents, right? So they're all very merciful towards all of us as like small toddlers, babies, who are on this path. But yeah, like Prabhupada is saying that we just have to follow the instructions. Spiritual master is always right. We just have to follow what they are saying without questioning. Yeah. And yeah, Prabhupada is always there. Yesterday, one of the devotees shared actually Shama Priya Mataji. She shared one video with me about my Guru Maharaj, and that video says that Guru Maharaj हमेशा हमारे साथ हैं, right? Guru Maharaj हमें छोड़ के नहीं गए, right? So it was in Hindi, but I was just telling that yeah, like how we are reading Prabhupada Leela, that Prabhupada is always there. He never left, and he will never leave. Like we were saying yesterday, before even he left on 15th when we were reading, he came back on 14th. So like that, so when she sent that, I was just telling her that we just yesterday only we were talking about that thing. That yeah, Prabhupada here also when we are reading, he says, I have come back, I've come back to serve you, right? So that's what he said when he came to San Francisco again. So like that, he's there, just the bodily concept of life has stopped, but in spirit, he is there, he was there, and he will always be there. And yeah, just how we should remember and meditate and never forget the spiritual master. Again, we learn from here what Prabhupada is teaching. And yesterday, again, I was looking at one of the posts by our God brothers. So again, my Guru Maharaj, when they have kept his tadiya, like his article, his things and articles that he used, like Prabhupada's everything that he used is there in Vrindavan house in Krishna Balaram temple. So like that in Juhu, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj's room is there. So there, when he was in his late 70s, and he was going there, the doctors had asked him to keep writing so that like he can utilize his physical skills, like his hand and writing. So I was just seeing that picture, the brahmachari who served Guru Maharaj. He shared all those pictures yesterday. So the letter that Guru Maharaj wrote, the paper that he wrote, everything there was in all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. That's it. On all those lines here, just like in child, as kids, we would write, we would repeat, right? So when we write ABCD, we would keep on repeating, 10 times like that. So the whole paper, Guru Maharaj had just written that, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So I was just amazed that, at that age, if doctor asked him to write, and that is what he was writing. So that is the meaning of true surrender, completely surrendering to our spiritual master, completely remembering, all the gifts and all the topmost gift, like we were saying in the prayer, the most auspicious of all auspicious things, the most purifying of all purifying things, the most sweetest of all is the holy name. And who gave us the holy name? We should never forget that. That is our Guru Parampara. So if we have that, like Krishna always says, one who says that he's my servant is not my servant, but one who says he's a devotee of my devotee, he is actually my devotee, right? So we don't have to directly become Krishna's devotee, we just have to become devotee of the Guru Parampara. Then Krishna will never leave us. Krishna is always there in our heart, and he will not leave us, but he will actually reveal himself to us. Like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's quote also, and I was reading recently his quotes, the book that he had, calendar. So he said, even though we don't have a place for Krishna in our heart, Krishna always has a place for us in his heart, right? So Krishna always has a place for our heart. So even though we don't have a place for Krishna in our heart, even though Krishna is sitting in our heart, but we may think, like in this world, we are so busy, like Ritesh, we were saying, sometimes we forget in the ups and downs of life, in the busyness of life. But Krishna never forgets us. He's always there with us. So even though sometimes, we may forget, we may not have a place for him, or there are a lot of people in the world. Not everybody is a devotee. Not everybody is even thinking of God, right? People are just busy in their own lives, thinking that they are gods, and they are the controllers of their lives. So even though they may not have a place for Krishna in the heart, Krishna still has a place for their heart. So he's our ever well-wishing friend. He's just waiting for us to turn towards him. When we turn towards him, then he will not only turn towards us, but he will actually embrace us and reveal himself to us. So yeah, we need to have that faith in the instructions of our gurus and our acharyas. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? Anything that you liked?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. So, when we're reading about when they were remembering about the bombing or something like that, I just remembered um, a story which Moglila Prabhu was describing in his lecture. I was just listening to it yesterday. So he was talking about a devotee from Pakistan. I think he was a priest or some devotee who was visiting, I think, India or something. So how he describes everything in a humorous way. So the devotee was in that ISKCON Delhi or something, and then the police came and they were like, "Oh, एक Pakistani घुस गया है आपके मंदिर में," or something like that. And he took actually that devotee to the police station. But he also mentioned the name, I don't remember, but he was like constantly chanting, while all the police officers were like going through his files and just making sure like about his identity and everything. And he was just sitting there, chanting. Like it took almost 6 hours to do all that, and he was just chanting all that while. And then he was like पुलिस were like कि हमारे हिंदुस्तान में भी हिंदू इतना chant नहीं करते कि पाकिस्तान से आए, how he's chanting like, you know, and when he says it's so funny, you know. So he's like, they were very amazed, you know, and then whatever work he was doing, whatever they had to do, all then after that, after 6 hours, they realized that no, he's a genuine person. And then the police himself did all that work for him. And, you know, and he was like, okay, now just sign. And he was like, okay, picked up the pen, signed. And he was like, okay. He again started chanting. So he was just mentioning, you know, how if you are always remembering Krishna, Krishna will always take care of you, you know, no matter where you are. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, like today when we read this past time also, Mukunda Prabhu, you know, he's there. He's not understanding that Hindi, right? But, you know, like Prabhupada says about Subhadra and Mukunda, you know, that how he has engaged even the Western people. But again, the body is just the external covering. The soul is eternal, and soul, like Prabhupada was saying, a yogi who had not finished his business in the previous life takes birth in a pious Brahmana family, right? So like that, you know, so maybe that Pakistani devotee, from the previous life, he was a devotee, he was a yogi, he was destined to do this, and so many of Prabhupada's examples, yeah, like his disciples when they went to India in Mayapur, they had challenges, you know, police were considering them agents of CIA, but then everything we see, you know, like Acharya say, you know, we may lose some battles in between, but the war will always be won at the end, you know, by the Lord's mercy. The Lord is just testing us through these situations, but He's always there with us, guiding and empowering us by the mercy of the Acharyas. So yeah, we should not forget that. But yeah, so many such inspiring stories are there from all over the world, devotees from all over the world. It's incredible in history that we've not had, you know, somebody like Srila Prabhupada. He was and he is and he will always be the one who inspired the whole world to take up Krishna consciousness. And for people who didn't even know what Krishna, what Ram is, what his holy name is, you know, he made everybody chant and dance, not just chant, but dance. And that inspired so many other generations of devotees. So, yeah. Thank you. And then the last breath, the bombing again, like we were saying from the prayer, last breath can come at any time. And Prabhupada again is reminding that, yes, if we are in the association of the holy name, then we are in association of Krishna, right? So it doesn't matter if a bomb falls, if earthquake happens, we are chanting the holy name, and Krishna is with us because holy name and Krishna are not different, right? Kali Kali, Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. So in this age of Kali, Krishna has descended in the avatar as the holy name. So Prabhupada is again and again teaching the same thing. When our life starts or whether our life ends, it is always the holy name. When our initiation happened, the first thing Prabhupada asked to do is chant 16 rounds. When he was leaving, he says, let me just have the medicine of the holy name. So when we in the beginning and the middle is holy name, then everything in between is transcendental sandwich perfection. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shri Mataji. Okay, let's pause here for today. Swati, and today at Saturday program at our center will be from 2 to 8 p.m. We are going to celebrate Gita Jayanti and recite the entire Bhagavad Gita and read the translation. So looking forward to everybody's association. We'll miss you, Shri Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Just want to mention it's my birthday today, so please request all the devotees to please bless me.
Wishing you a very, very happy, blissful, and bhaktiful Krishna conscious birthday today and throughout your life. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for your association, and may Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara bless you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय जगद्गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय श्री प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल थैंक यू devotees हरे कृष्ण
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, everyone.
Happy birthday, Shri.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Shreya.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Hare
Happy
Krishna.
birthday.
हरे कृष्ण